promoting businesses and organizations to help them reach their full potential. Lighten the path to the success of your business. Enhancing the lives of our listeners by talking about things that matters most. Helping you to shine your light emotionally, mentally, spiritually, socially, and physically. Spreading positive vibes. You've got it locked and you're listening to Light Vibrations, brought to you by Lyte Communications right here on CBN Radio 90.9 FM. And now your host and our director, Natasha Letza.
Hello, you've got it locked and you're listening to Light Vibrations powered by CBN 90.9 FM and brought to you by Lyte Communications every Wednesday at 8 a.m. I'm your host, Director of Lyte Communications, Natasha Letza. Today, our program is being sponsored by the BVI Olympic Committee as we continue our conversation to promote physical literacy locally. Here to give us more perspective on the topic is focal point for NCD's Miss Ivy George with the Ministry of Health and Social Development and the President of the BVI Olympic Committee, Mr. Ephraim Penn. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Now, Ms. George, start us off by refreshing our memory. What exactly is physical literacy and why is it important?
Physical literacy is having the skills, confidence, motivation to enjoy a variety of sports and physical activities. It is important because physical activity is one of the protective risk factors against chronic non-communicable diseases, which is a major problem in the world. Actually, physical literacy is the third leading contributing in physical inactivity, the third leading contributing factor to chronic non-communicable diseases.
What role is the Ministry of Health playing to assist with promoting physical literacy locally?
Well, as you're aware, the Ministry of Health is responsible for the coordinating of the For the Healthy Virgin Islands 10-year strategy, which is focusing on the reduction of chronic non-communicable diseases and its risk factor and the promotion of health and well-being. And as I mentioned, physical activity is one of the risk factors of chronic non-communicable diseases, and so we are very much involved in promoting physical activity across the life course.
Thank you for that, Ms. George. Mr. Penn, what role is the BVI Olympic Committee playing when it comes to the awareness and promotion of physical literacy locally?
Well, thank you for having us, and it's really a pleasure to be here and to shed some light on what the Olympic Committee sees as a very important program for, as Ms. George said, the elimination or the reduction in NCDs in the territory. And we at the British Fraternal Olympic Committee have a dual role. We look at the elite athletes, and we also look at Sports for Life. And Sports for Life is actually a avenue to get people active throughout their life cycle, and that they don't mean that they have to be top athletes, but just to increase their physical activity is one of the most important avenues of combating the NCDs. And we got into this program. It's not an overnight success. It's been a long process. It started way back in 2007 when I attended the Sports for Life, Sports for All seminar in Malaysia, and there it really struck home of the importance of combating the NCD program in the world and using sports as that avenue to do that, and not seeing the the investment in physical activity is an investment not just in sport, but in investment in the health of the country. And I came back and you always need a champion to work with you with these programs. You could go out, find things, and you come back, and if there's no one to implement, then they're just simple programs or simple ideas. I knew Ivy was always in looking for avenues to really get this message across, and I thought it was a great idea to marry both sports and health to make a difference in the community. And that's how we got started with I think the first thing we did was the 10,000 steps program, and that was successful. Then the real success came when I went to the to Miami Forum, the best practice forum in Miami, and there we were introduced to Canada Sports for Life and the long-term athlete development program. And it made an impression on me, and I said, well, this is something else that can add to the overall program. We have a small territory. We have, I think we have the stats to prove the different levels of chronic diseases we have based on inactivity. So we saw this as a great opportunity again to build on what we started and to really make a difference in the life of the country.
Awesome, Mr. Penn. Thank you for that background information. In terms of physical literacy, this is not something new. This is something that's been in the pipeline. We had a stint where we were trying to make a push for it back in 2016. Speak about that initial promotion of physical literacy and what happened and where we are now, where we're trying to go.
When I came back from the meeting in 2015, we initially made contact and said this is a program that we'd like to be a part of. And then just waiting to hear, then we got a call or message went out from the CANA, the Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committees, said, well, oh, look, we were also impressed with what we heard in Miami, and we wanted to start a program for 6 countries in the Caribbean on long-term athlete development. And I immediately said, yes, sign us up. I tried to get in very quickly, and we were lucky to get in that program. In that pilot program, there were 6 countries, as I said, the Bahamas, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, and the BVI. So that program started, it was supposed to run from 2016 to 2018, a 2-year program. And we came back, met with Ivy again, and the program had different steps. You had to form a committee, you had to find somebody to run the program, and we did all that, and away we went. And the program here was well run by Angie, and it really was something that did well overall. So because of the success locally, we were invited to Miami to make a presentation on the impact of the program in the territory. And I think Ivy went there and she hit a home run. The narrator said, well, it's a first that a Ministry of Health is presenting to a sports symposium. We supposed to be it's supposed to be the other way around. Sports are telling the health people, well, sports is supposed to make you better, and here it's the other way around. So it really was what we call a paradigm shift. And from that presentation, the Pan Am Sports wanted to adopt the program for all the countries, the 41 countries in the Pan American region. And through that phase, we were able to get a second phase of the program, funding from Olympic Solidarity for second phase, for phase 2 of the program. And we were all set and ready to implement. And I think the implementation was going to be in September of 2017. So I don't need to remind you what happened then. And so that put damper on our progress, and but we kept fighting. We kept fighting. Everybody was. I think the main concern after that was trying to at least get a shelter and get food and stuff like that. So it was difficult to focus on the program, but we never let it die. And we kept focused because we realized that in spite of it all, it can be worse if the people are not active, if the kids don't get into a routine of doing things physically. And we kept trying to restart the program. I think we had a couple meetings up at the hospital because there were no offices anywhere, and what have you. And we kept going. And amazingly, when we got back to Olympic solidarity, again saying, but look, we will definitely like to continue this program, seeing it as a key component in getting people minds off of certain things. We were able again to receive funding, but the funding we received was for 2 years or 3 years, because we have a 4-year cycle, and now next year is the last year of the cycle. So we have continued working, and we are now at the stage where I think we are implementing, finally getting we have a 2019 to 2020 program that now we are trying to implement. I think it started late last month, and we are grateful for the hard work of the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education to continue to help us to make a difference in the lives of so many people, not just elite athletes, but also persons in the community who can benefit from this kind of program.
Thank you very much for that background information, Mr. Penn, and the whole impact that physical literacy would have on sport, and your organization in the future trying to develop elite athletes. Ms. George, I know that we're looking for partnerships with the Ministry of Education. We're looking for teachers and PE teachers, classroom and PE teachers, to kind of jump on board with this initiative and promote movement across the curriculum. And I know also we're looking at parents to play their part in basically helping to build that capacity for physical literacy from our children. So Ms. George, tell us a little bit about the target and some of the benefits that would be derived from starting at the pre and primary school levels.
What is very important, as Mr. Penn said, the way the program is developed, it's called a long-term athlete development, and it has 7 stages. And the physical literacy is like the foundation part. So you can start with your child 0 to 6, and that active stage where we begin to just introduce children to move. Because what we find is that a lot of time that children, they go to daycare and there's not a lot of emphasis on moving, and so from a very early age, children learn how to be inactive. And then you also, when you go to school, the next stage is the fundamental learning. Still, for the skill development, that's the time to say when it is best to develop certain skills. And what you find, if the children miss those fundamental skills, when they start at learning to train, which is at 9 and 12 for the boys, and 8 and 11, some of them are already disadvantaged. They cannot do simple things. Some of them cannot, like walk on a straight line. They can't throw, they can't hop, etc. And they don't have an appreciation for just free running up and down like when we were going to school and so long ago. I mean, but that is what we had. We didn't have electronic television and so we just did a lot of physical activity in and out. Whenever you had a chance, you were playing, you were doing something. And also why I was very interested when I saw this program, because there are other programs being developed by other agencies, but being a small country, not having a lot of fun, and knowing that there would be funding available from a place like Olympic Solidarity, then that's one. And also the fact that we are getting 3 bang for our bucks. The first thing we are promoting, because we are working with the school, and we are saying that physical activity is a known factor. This is not me just saying this now. Wherever you could pull up the literature, physical literacy enhance academic performance of students. That is a known fact. The second thing would be that it also, when children are very active, it will help them also to help prevent some of these chronic disease, because as I said, physical activity is a protective factor, that you find people who are more involved in physical activity, they have a better chance of decreasing and delaying the onset of these chronic diseases. And the third thing, which is very important also because we are a small community, we want to get more people on the podium at these international meets. And so if we can start from very early by training our children, then we will have more persons to go into the elite athlete stream, and they will be better prepared because they will have been active from much younger.
The idea is hitting the nail on the head. That's exactly why we started the program. And as you can see, the success at the international level now speaks volume for why we need to continue along this stream. We have had first, and just about 2 years in a row, we had the first Commonwealth Game champion in 2018 in Kyron McMaster, and this year we had the first Pan American Game champion in Chantel Malone in 2019. Next year we're keeping our fingers crossed to see what happened there, but we're going to give it our best shot to see if we get an Olympic medal. And we see these athletes as major role models for the country. They're major ambassadors, and to encourage the younger athletes to strive for that success, because these are major breakthroughs for a country of our size. And we know that it don't happen every day. In fact, the Athletic Olympic Committee have been at this since 1984, and now we are breaking through. So it's not an easy process, and I think that the community should really give these athletes a lot of encouragement and support for their major achievement. So we are now at this stage where we are launching this program, and we look forward to working closely with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Sports to continue along this path and to reap not only the benefits for the elite athletes, but for the community as a whole, in that we have a reduction in these diseases of the high blood pressure, the heart disease, cancers, and what have you, and really help to make it a healthier community for all, and a better standard and a better quality of life for a better part of our citizens.
Definitely, and it goes right up the alley that Ms. George was referring to earlier, the 10-year strategy towards a healthier Virgin Islands. And Ms. George, this collaboration which in so far I'm hearing is the BVI Olympic Committee, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education. Is there any other collaborators or stakeholders involved in this? And also from a ministerial perspective, what formal links or what formal ties have you cemented to ensure the success of this program?
Under the Towards a Healthier Virgin Islands strategy, we have a national committee that oversees the coordination of the chronic disease. We also have one of the arms that we have is called an interdepartmental technical working group, and in that one of the main thing was to work with other ministries, because one of the things that is very important, that a lot of the things that contribute to chronic non-communicable diseases are outside of the purview of the Ministry of Health. And so you want to work with the Ministry of Education, the ministry responsible for labor, you want to work with the health services, you want to work with the ministry that is responsible for transportation, etc., because all of these things have a role to play. It's one thing to just telling people to do something, but if we do not have the infrastructure, if we do not have, we have to make it easy for people to do these things. So we have a MOU with the Ministry of Education where we have asked education to take the lead for health of the students. So we are working very closely with them to build capacity to help them to do that. And so the MOU, we have just looked at review it, and that should, this new minister, we should have a meeting and having it signing again by the two ministers that are in place, the Minister of Health and the Minister of Education. We have also want to formalize our arrangement with the BVI Olympic Committee. So we have also will be signing soon a MOU with them. So those are some of the ways that we are formalized. And also I want to point out that for this project, the Olympic Committee is leading in terms of the coordination overall, making sure that everything happen and follow a certain path. And then we have an implementation committee that will come out of the Ministry of Education, and they will feed back to this other intersectoral committee, because at the end of the day, then we have to have report back to Olympic Solidarity, and then we also have to have information to the Ministry of Health. So the Ministry of Health have signed the contract with Canada Sports for Life. So they have signed the contract, and it's a 1-year contract. We would have liked it to have been for a longer period, but we have to start somewhere. But I am hoping that this program will be very successful, and that even before the end of the school year, that we will see the need for continuation, and that we will be able to have whatever the arrangements are to continue, because how the program is set up, we're only going to be able to deal with a certain amount of school and preschool and daycare in year 1. And so we will build capacity in those teachers, we will do the test and see where the children are to get some baseline data, and then we would have put certain things in place and then move on to another cohort and for the next school year, and we had looked at it for 3 years. So I'm really hoping that we'll see the need, and that parents will cooperate, also understand why this is important, and that they will take the lead in advocating for the need for this. I mean, in a number of places you have physical activity every day. Here we just have it once a week. I think what this program does, by saying that we are having physical activity across the day, across the curriculum, it gives the children more opportunity to have a chance to do physical activity. So, so it's not just, we're just not dependent only on the PE teachers. And I had an opportunity, the first activity took place during the institute. And we missed one day because of the storm. But I was very privileged to go on the field and spend some time at the Catholic school in the courtyard and see the teachers going through activities that they can use with their children. And they had so much fun. So if they had so much fun, you could imagine how much fun the children would have, and starting at that early age, because again, it's not competition. What you're supposed to be doing is just for fun and building the fundamental skills to move to the next level.
Well, as for Ms. George, oh my gosh, the time is basically winding down on us. With this last few minutes in the program, Mr. Penn, just tell me, what are your expectations of the program, and how do you see it addressing some of the gaps or the shortfalls when it comes to developing elite athletes?
Well, the goal of the program is twofold: to get our society active, to get away from what you call the couch potatoes, because there's a saying now in the industry that inactivity is now the new smoking.
Wow.
So we are trying to get people active first and foremost. And once that is achieved, then the different national federations with their pathways athletes can just go into different programs, different activities, and there we look toward the future. But for now, we are just happy and very, very appreciative of the efforts that have started, and we look forward to getting things started, getting sports back on the burner, and getting people active, and we feel the elite part of it will take care of itself. The cream always rises to the top, so we feel that would happen, but we just want a bigger pool to draw from. That's all.
Awesome. I want to thank Mr. Penn and Ms. George for coming on the program as we took a deeper look into physical literacy, collaborations, expectations, and stakeholders. This episode of the Lyte Vibrations was brought to you by the BVI Olympic Committee. Remember, we need the buy-in and support from our teachers, parents, and sport organizers to ensure the success of this program. Parents can support the initiative by being an active role model. Play with your children, expose them to a variety of physical activities, find space for them to play, and be an advocate of building physical literacy. Building physical literacy will assist your child by improving their academic performance, cognitive skills, mental health, psychological wellness, and social skills. Your child stands to benefit tremendously. Let us press together towards a healthier Virgin Islands, one child at a time. If you want to learn more about how you can support this initiative, like or follow Lyte Communications on Facebook at Facebook or fb.me/Lyte Communications. You've been listening to Lyte Vibrations, and I'm your host, Natasha Letson, saying thank you for tuning in and blessings.
You've been listening to Lyte Vibrations, brought to you by Lyte Communications. Lyte Communications, your one-stop shop for all of your communications and marketing needs. From conception to completion, we offer the entire communications package. Choose Lyte for reach, results, and reliability. We have over 15 years experience, and we offer an array of services guaranteed to enhance your reach and increase your market presence. To showcase your business or organization on our program, contact Natasha Letzum at natasha@lightcommunications.com or via WhatsApp or telephone at 284-545-7355 to secure your package today. Community-minded individuals with knowledge in finance, health, business, relationships, spirituality, fitness, agriculture, healthy living, parenting, or any other topic that can enhance the lives of our community are also encouraged to contact Ms. Letzum to organize an interview. Thank you for tuning in to Light Vibration, and don't forget to tune in this time next week as we continue to bring you life-changing information. Until next time, shine your light.